In this video, I will show you how you can create cross-contour line drawings of more complicated organic forms. Like in the previous lesson, I would encourage you to start out by drawing a thumbnail sketch on a corner of your paper. When you do this, it's really helpful if you identify your eye level, where your eyes are located in relation to your subject matter. In this case, my eye level is right in the middle of the cactus. And also mark where the light direction is coming from. My spotlight is coming from the top left corner. You can start out by doing a quick gesture drawing using different sighting techniques. I highly encourage you to look at the actual object rather than referring to the picture for this exercise. Cross-contour lines define the surface of a volume. So these are the lines that define volume, which means that if you look at, if you're referring to a two-dimensional photograph to do this exercise, it's going to be really tricky because you will have to be guessing how the volumes are created. So to introduce the cactus, I've introduced the line of symmetry, which is also the line of axis going down straight vertically. I've identified the edge of the table, the back edge of the table. And then I've marked with some straight lines the bottom edge, the top edge, and the right and left edges. That way I've created this rectangular block with the line of symmetry. And then starting by drawing a small oval shape as the base of the pot, I've started introducing the left and right edges of the pot. The negative shapes on the right and left sides should be exactly identical because this is a symmetrical object. So remember that the cross sections of the circular pot is also perfect circle when you see it from the top. However, since you're sitting from the side when you're drawing the objects, these cross sections will appear as narrow ovals or ellipses. I've also drawn in line where the eye level is and tried to identify where the top of the bulbous part of the cactus plant is sitting. It's sitting slightly on top of the eye level, so I've marked that area to divide the cactus into three parts. One part is the top part, where the leaf-like shapes are coming out. The middle part is the bulbous body, and the third part is the pot on the bottom. So before I'm introducing the cross contour lines, right now I'm using the contour lines to define the edges of the form. Unlike the outline, contour lines vary in weight and describe significant inner areas as well as the overall shape. So far we've covered the three different types of lines. One is the outline, second one is a contour line, and the third type of line is the cross contour lines we are learning right now. So it's helpful for you to be able to identify and differentiate those three types of lines. I'm trying to differentiate the weight in the contour lines by putting more emphasis wherever the shadows are and wherever the prominent textures are happening. I'm using a little bit more pressure in my hand to emphasize those lines. Now I've started introducing the cross contour lines onto the body of the cactus. So if you simplify this body shape, which is a bulbous form, you can think of this as a cylindrical shape that has some dips and swells and more texture on the surface. So there's more in and out on the surface happening. However, because these cross sections are sitting below the eye level, you can think of it as a narrow oval shape, but you're seeing a lot of the top portion of that. So go ahead and emphasize the bottom half of those oval-like shapes. Whereas whatever is on top of your eye level, you can emphasize the top of the oval shape. And whatever cross contour lines that align with the eye level, you'll most likely see a straight line going across. Same thing with the cross sections of the pot, the planter on the bottom. A lot of these cross sections are below your eye level, so imagine the oval shaped cross sections bisecting the form. You will most likely see the top of these shapes. Another way to think of this is imagine that all of the details of the form is transparent. So imagine it's transparent and imagine the cross sections that are in between. So for whatever is on the bottom side of the eye level, you're gonna be seeing the top of the cross section. However, because these forms are opaque and not transparent, you're only seeing the frontal half of the cross section. So go ahead and emphasize the bottom half of those cross sections. If they're above the eye level, you're going to be emphasizing the top half. With your vertical cross contour lines, just make sure that they follow the form of the cactus, which is not very even but pretty irregular. So there's a lot of ins and outs, ups and downs. And not only these cross contour lines can go in vertical and horizontal direction, but they can go in any way. So I've decided to introduce more cross contour lines that are kind of mimicking the direction of the light. So they're moving diagonally this time. As long as these lines are following the basic rule of perspective, like I've emphasized during the last two lessons, the type of the lines that you use as cross contour lines can vary, which means that you don't have to be using a single type of line with single weight, but it can vary and you can be more creative with the types of lines that you're making, as well as the types of materials that you use to describe these lines. Now, by referring to the edge of the table, I've identified the focal point, the vanishing point on the eye level, which is the horizon line. And using that point as a reference and using a ruler, I've completed the cross contour lines on the table. And I've also drawn in the cat's shadow that's being casted by the light hitting the cactus. I'm also finding the core shadows that are happening on the cactus and the planter. And as you practice more and more, you will begin to see the relationship between the cross contour lines and the shapes of the shadows happening on the form. Shading the core shadow of the planter, leaving the right edge as a reflected light. You do still need to shade in one layer, so it's not completely white, but it's still a part of that big shadow. Reflected light also is pretty dark. If you think of it relatively to the rest of the area, it's just one tone lighter than the core shadow. So this is a finished cross contour drawing of the cactus on a table. This is how you can improvise with the basic shapes. So a lot of basic shapes that we talked about are in these objects, such as the heel of the shoe. It's somewhat cylindrical in form. The cat's ceramic piece on the back has a lot of basic shapes that we talked about, such as the sphere, cone for the ears, cylinder for tail, and also a very flat cylinder for the base. So you can improvise that way, and also use different materials like I did. I used a ballpoint pen to do cross contour lines on the cat ceramic piece, and some ink and bamboo pen for the shoe. So I hope you use the last two video references to complete your cross contour assignments, and also have fun experimenting with different types of materials. Thank you for watching.